Hello everyone and welcome to another Travel Massive Glasgow live. A little bit of housekeeping before we start. We are streaming across multiple channels, including the Travel Massive website, but also across multiple Facebook channels, YouTube, even LinkedIn. So if you are on any of those channels, you can comment on those platforms if you're watching from there. And those comments will come into me and then we can ask our guests any questions that you have to ask. So this is the second time we've done this live. Obviously, still stuck at home during the lockdowns. Hopefully restrictions will be lifted soon. But we have two amazing speakers with us today. First we have is Chris Wain from Unique Adventure Tours Scotland, and I approached Chris because I wanted to get the view of someone who's literally started out on their business. Now, he started his business, I think it was back in November, December. So as anything, though, COVID has hit. So if anything, it's probably the worst time to start a business, but maybe it was a good time as well. So we're going to talk to Chris and get his thoughts on why he started the business, what he did to create the business, and why he went down this route. I felt that would offer some good insights for people who are maybe in a similar vein and thinking about starting up a business even post-COVID, because there are opportunities out there. And we're also speaking to Patrick O'Shaughnessy from Visit Scotland. Hope I pronounced that last name right. And he's going to be talking about digital marketing fundamentals and things that you could be doing to get right and to promote your business online, especially now. After COVID, that's going to be even vitally important. Those direct channels, which I always bang on about, is going to become even more important going forward. So we're going to have some great chats, hopefully some great questions, and we'll get stuck in with our first speaker. And I'm going to just bring him online. And it is Chris Wain. Hi, Chris. Can you hear me?
I can indeed, Chris. Good evening. Thank you very much for having me tonight.
Not at all. Thanks for joining us. So I hope you're well, safe, and everything's all going good, okay, yeah. Okay as it could be. So
yeah, sure. In Highland, Perthshire, so we're very lucky where we are. We're in the middle of the countryside in the wilderness ourselves. So we, like the people that have all been living in the country, we're quietly grateful as to where we live at the moment. Yeah, very much so.
Excellent. So for those who don't know who you are or what your business is about, do you want to just give a brief introduction to both, please?
Yeah, my name is Chris. I'm based in Aberfeldy, which is central Scotland, where I've lived here for the last maybe 27 years off and on. I work locally in a variety of jobs, but my two main jobs are as an outdoor guide and instructor for various different outdoor companies, but mainly based in Aberfeldy with splash whitewater rafting. And my other job or business has been as a graphic designer. Excuse me, self-employed graphic designer. So, and yeah, really having lived here and done those things around here for certainly for the last 17 years of working for myself and in this area. Yeah, that's where I'm coming from. That's who I am. And yeah.
Excellent. So obviously with that, before I go into my questions, with that marketing background, that's obviously going to help you with your business setting up because you have that there. So it's going to give you a little bit of a head start, I would imagine, compared to some of the other actors and things like that. Yeah, which is good. So I'm going to kick in with the questions. We've got a lot to go through today, and I know you've worked. A speaker we've had on a few times now. He's well known in the industry. He's Peter Syme from Splash and whitewater rafting. And you, as you mentioned earlier, you worked with him. You worked and you ran your own design company. And about 6 months ago, you decided to set up Unique Adventures Tour Scotland. First, what made you decide to start up your own company in terms of moving it? Well, maybe not completely moving away from design, but moving into creating your own tour company. And how do you find the time to do this with doing that as well? you seem to do quite a few things at the moment. So, yeah. So what was it? What was the spark that made you start it up in the first place?
I think the spark that made it all kick off for me was all of those things. Was working in design has always made me interested in what the people I've worked for are doing, and you can't kind of do work for people like that, as you'll know yourself, with no interest at all. If there's just no interest in it, it's not going to happen. And likewise with the outdoor work, I've grown more and more interested in what I do with the likes of Pete, but also just in the outdoors, different people, different places, sharing activities and all that sort of thing. And also from working with the illustrious Mr. Syme, I've also had a chance to do very different things within marketing and sharing in his understandings and his kind of ways of going about things in a sort of abstract mentoring where you work with somebody for so long, you can't help but have this sort of thing rub off on you. And as I've got older a little bit, and more working with that sort of thing, I've wanted to try and combine all of those things so that I'm not spread over loads of different places, that I am focusing on what turns out to have been a really broad range of things that have turned out to be one interest, which is the more I've worked with smaller groups and private groups, you just think, oh, this seems the right way to go forward. I can't constantly be at the front face of 200 odd people a day doing all sorts of activities and doing that day in, day out. I'd like to be a bit more personal. When you get close to the people, you think, oh, this is cool. This is really good. And it's exciting, but it combines all my interests. And I'm always trying to find someone to keep me occupied. You say I've got where do I find the time? But really, over time, the idea has developed until really last year. Over the winter, you have a bit of a quiet period and think, I'll put some serious thought to this. I'll write down more than just thinking. I'll put some action plans together, see if it actually makes sense. It seemed to make a lot of sense. It still makes a lot of sense. But yeah, and actually it's like a little sort of side project for yourself. It's like I think of it like an art project or an idea project, where you think, how good is this idea? Does it stop at the point where you think, well, actually, I don't know how to train hawks, so I can't do private hawk training sessions or something. You get it to the point where you think this is realistic, and then I felt, wow, it's exciting, and it kept me really excited for the winter, and it's still keeping me excited. It's keeping me going while this is going on. The idea of it still being real enough is good enough in itself.
Good, and that's half the battle. If you find something that you're passionate about, it makes it a lot easier rather than it just being a job. It's something that you love and want to do. So yeah, for sure, I can completely understand. Well, obviously you've had the experience of being a tour guide with Peter and the other companies that you work with. But did that throw up any challenges in terms of when you started up on your own? Was there any obstacles that you had to overcome? Obviously, pre-COVID, that you maybe didn't expect, with having to set up and run a tour business that you never foreseen. I know a lot of tour guides and things like that, and obviously with working with Peter, then you've maybe had a better insight into how a business works. But did you see anything you maybe thought was unforeseen, or things like, or any obstacles that you had to overcome?
Yeah, I mean, big obstacles for me were the things that you're saying there. Actually, I'm good with ideas. I'm creative, and I'm good at the guiding side of things, but I'm not as organized as I could be. I'm not as academic as I could be. It's not one of my strong points. So the sort of the real proper planning and making sure something can actually work was something I really struggled with, and kind of looked for a lot of help from different people to help me with that. And managing my time, having an idea like this, once I realized I was going to do it, I've had to keep working. I've had to keep earning money. So time management is, you just sort of sacrifice some sleep, I think, really. You just sacrifice sleep and you just kind of keep going.
For sure. I can understand that one.
Yeah. And
I've actually, sorry, you go.
No, well, I mean, then the other obstacles were really, they're probably just the standard ones. You know, I didn't have a lot of money behind me, so I sold my car and I saved some money and stuff like that, and they're just the normal obstacles, I suppose. But the other ones were just being myself. But I've been very lucky with, you know, early on, there's a good friend of mine who was very helpful in helping me figure out how to price things, or every now and then speaking to Pete and saying, look, there must be something I've missed. It can't all be this. I can't have everything covered. What have I missed? And different people. So it's been, and watching your videos and your webinars and reading your turning your lookers into bookers was actually quite a, you know, not that I know everything in the book, but you felt, wow, he's not speaking Mandarin.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thank you for the plug. No, it's exactly that. And it's one of the reasons why I put that book together. Is unlike yourself, you're in a good position where you know a lot of the marketing side of things inside out, whereas a lot of tour operators don't. Not even the basics. In fact, that leads directly into my next question. And I always say that tourism businesses must become media companies, rather than, yes, they have tour business, they run tours or accommodation or whatever it is that you do within the tourism sphere, but you ultimately have to become a media company because you have to put out so much information and so much content and so much marketing materials out there just to be seen these days and cut through all the other clutter that's out there. So with your media and sort of design background, how important would you say it is for tour operators wishing or who are watching or listening to this podcast in the future to at least know the basics of marketing before they start thinking about creating a tour business? How important would you say that's a step in the process?
It seems, and more, it seems massively important. It seems like even with my, you know, and I've always worked by myself, so I imagine that if I'd worked with someone like yourself in a big team, the collective knowledge that you get from that is massive. So, but it still feels that you have to understand it. Even with clients that I've worked with myself, you think when they have no even basic understanding of how it works, how the machinery of it all works, you're lost. You're paying for that every step of the way, and either you're willing to pay for that, or the advantage to myself was I can see how I can save myself a load of money by just using my own time and develop things, you know, following some of the guidelines as we've talked about from the book, but also just the way it seems to work. But it seems, you know, I think even before I'd fully launched, by the time I got to December, I'd done something like 300 hours on my website and social media and stuff like that, and trying to generate enough content because from what we understand, you have to keep engaging, you have to keep the content growing, and you have to have all that. So I think without that, it's definitely something that, from speaking to other people that have had a similar idea to this, coming from this similar background of outdoor instruction and guiding, their main obstacle has been, I don't know anything about the technology and I can't afford to pay somebody to do it for me. So I stopped. So it felt like it was, it felt like my advantage really is it's sort of why I kind of took the leap. I thought I have a financial and a mental advantage over the fact that I understand this stuff and I don't have to mortgage my house or something.
Yeah, and you actually, it was a little good sort of comment you mentioned there, or a point you mentioned I want to pick up on, is spending 300 hours on a website. That's what a lot of businesses and business owners don't realise, is your website is never finished.
No.
It's a constant moving, evolving beast. And it's as I mentioned in the book as well, is where I say it's the best employee you'll ever have. You have to nurture it. It's selling for you in a 24/7. No, it should never fail you, but you have to keep feeding it and keep nurturing it and making sure it's fine. And yeah, a website's never ending cycle with websites.
Yeah, and that's one of the, it's one of the key things that, from building them myself, but also from working with our man at Rafting, with Peter, you're developing something that is, you're developing a wiki around your business to draw everybody in, and I'm just one person, so I have to make sure that I'm optimizing myself as much as I can, really.
Yeah. So you started up 6 months ago, or so, and then 2 or 3 months in, COVID hit. Was being at the start of the company's journey a blessing in disguise, or have you also been really hit hard with this? So how's COVID affected your business in the whole at the moment?
Yeah. I mean, I was fully focused on this, so I'm not considering what my other work was doing. Really, there is, it's all sort of tourism based, but it hit me from both sides. Really, I as COVID kind of kicked in, I'd been feeling really energized, really confident, really kind of positive about what I'd done. I got a real momentum going and felt really excited about what was happening. It seemed to all be really good. And from that, although the business side of things I'm not generating any business. I've been carrying on the kind of positivity of lots of people wanting to connect with each other and businesses and stuff like that. So that's been really good. There's been a real positive to the sort of what seems to be more openness to having a bit of a discussion with other people in complementary businesses and stuff like that, and local businesses. But I suppose the negative side of it is that you're trying to maintain you're trying to maintain a level of energy and a level of positivity about something that's on very shaky ground at the moment, and that's a sort of a personal, physical, and sort of mental thing you have to keep on top of. So it's taking its toll a little bit, and Scotland, and certainly the sector that we're in with tourism and tours and activities, we may be a little bit later down the line than a lot of people, but there's good people all around me. So it's been, I think the positive for the business has been that I've been able to develop a lot more content, and I've been able to sort of practice my voice with people, practice my presence with people, and try and experiment with who's engaged in what. I've spent a lot of time looking at a lot of feedback from my website and from Google and from Facebook. So that's been interesting. I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot from kind of thinking I was ready to go to now thinking, wow, not that I wasn't ready to go, but I've learned a lot more. And I think the positives have outweighed the negatives of just that kind of the same thing that everyone's in. I've got no business and nobody's got any work. So, there's definitely a time balance.
Yeah, I think for sure that yourself and any other business who survives through this period is going to come out stronger at the other end. If you can get through this, you'll pretty much get through anything. So if anything, it'll hopefully set you up in a much stronger position for sure.
Yeah.
So in terms of what marketing efforts are you doing now, if any, during COVID, and how do you see this evolving in the months to come with obviously there's going to be a new normal coming out after all this? So is there anything you're doing now, and is there anything that you're planning on doing differently marketing-wise going forward?
Differently, I'd like to, there's things that once I have a bit of a handle on when we can start to properly encourage people to book things, then I will look at more. I've been mainly focusing on kind of social media for any paid marketing, and that's really to build a community on Facebook. Anything that I've been doing with Google or Google Business has been content, posting, photos, trying to develop the sort of business side of that on Google. LinkedIn's been really good. Some great interactions on LinkedIn. So that is a marketing thing for me, and an angle with the sort of business to business and people that are organizing slightly different angles of bringing business to me. That's been really good, really interesting, and something that I knew was good, but I just felt quite, I didn't feel like an imposter, but I felt like it was going to be a little bit harder than it has been. And really, going forward, I need to figure out kind of Google Ads a little bit better. I need to direct more booking and capability from that kind of side of things, really. But yeah, I mean, once I know that I can work, and once I've figured out that my bank account hasn't become a black hole, then I'll start advertising. I mean, at the moment, I followed a bit of advice from a few people, and recently, throughout this, I've still kept a very small trickle of awareness through Facebook advertising, just tiny budgets, just day by day, and that's been good. And then a lot of work myself from just sharing and sharing and sharing.
That's exactly what to do. That's what I'm advising a lot of our customers is anything you can do free, content, just getting videos, whatever. And I know you do a lot of videos as well. Some of them are great. It's doing stuff like that is stuff that you can do now with your phones, with anything, and just getting stuff out there. It's letting people know, as I've mentioned a few webinars in the past, you've literally got a captive audience sitting at home at the moment who are looking for things that they wish they could be doing or want to do when restrictions are lifted. So give them something to read, give them something to watch. So for those companies who have stopped marketing completely, which there have been a few, those like yourself who are at least continue with small little budget in Facebook just to drive awareness and doing videos and things like that, you are going to be in a much stronger position at the end of this because people will see that you are still here. They'll see that you're still surviving throughout all this craziness that's going on. Those who are not doing that, people will just think that the business is dead and maybe they're not in business anymore. So keeping that little bit of awareness up, whatever you can afford, or even using the free channels is, in my opinion, vitally important. So
and I mean that's it. It's from watching some of the things that yourself has been involved in, but also the industry in general. When you're following some Kelsey's videos or your videos or things that people are doing, you think there's a positivity about keeping that going as well. If people see that you just go, oh, it's the end of the world and stop, then maybe it's not the vibe you're looking for when the business does come back and you can go on holiday or you can go and do an experience. Whereas you've got you have to keep it together, and it's something that I enjoy as well. So, but it really is. It's been proven by the community that are possibly watching the likes of this and yourselves that you think, well, without that content, without that momentum, every time you stop, the world is not going to wait for you to kind of reappear again. You're gone.
Yeah, for sure. No, I couldn't have said it better myself. I can see a few questions coming in. I've got one more question for Chris, and we'll go to those questions. But if you do have a question for Chris, please post them up in the comments, and we'll get to them as quickly as we can. So for my last question, for anyone who's still unsure of which marketing avenues to focus on during COVID or beyond, what would your advice to be for them? If you had to pick one marketing channel or one effort to do marketing-wise, what would that be?
Well, you're just now.
If you were marketing just now, but you had one option, what would it be? What would you pick?
I don't know. I think you sort of ask yourself, what do you want? What do you think you can achieve? I mean, I can only really achieve to build an audience. So I went with small adverts with a £1 or £2 a budget a day, because I really, generally self-funding all this. And that keeps a trickle of interest and likes happening to my page. But I suppose... And then do you have time? If you really want to concentrate on getting bookings, I suppose you'd say to yourself, start trying to write content. And if you can, get in touch with all the bloggers that are, needing work, or, anybody that that's good at writing stories, and it's stories. And definitely more as we go into lockdown, it feels like it's stories. One picture is fine, but people are you just flick past that picture. Where's the story? Where's the information? I've got a long day happening. I went a bit off question, Chris. Sorry.
No, that's what happens. Don't worry.
I think it's that kind of thing. I think. I'm focusing on my budget, and my budget dictates where I can advertise. And really, it's got to be online. You've got to be online. There's no point in me getting flyers printed or getting a nice T-shirt done or something. It's get adverts, get your demographic that you guys are always talking about. Don't go for. I would have been delighted to have. Actually, this week I'd have had a group of ladies from New York coming with me to go over to Oban and Mull. But now, the American market's not somebody to advertise for us in the UK. Maybe trickles of Europe, but really, it's find out who you think you can get to and advertise with them.
That's it. I'm sure Patrick will have something to say that later on the next speaker. So, but I can certainly see a couple of questions. Let me see if I can bring these up on screen. Kill Oswald, funny name. Are you planning on selling any virtual experiences? Now, virtual experiences has had a lot of talk. I have my own views on this as well, which may or may not highlight. But are you looking at doing any virtual experiences?
I'm not, Chris. No, I'll take people. I'll take a camera with me and go for a walk and film it and cut it together and make a nice wee film or something. But what it would be so far away from what I'm actually trying to come back to after this that it would dilute my ideas, and really people, adventure tour is the key thing to my selling point, and I don't know if they're having that adventure in their living room.
I have to admit,
but I'm not. I still can't quite figure an angle that would be anything but taking one of my providers and repackaging their product and selling it on again. That's not necessarily going to work in the area that I live in.
No, I agree. I actually think I could talk all day about this, so I'm going to try and spend 60 seconds at the most about this. I actually think online virtual experiences, the moment that people are focusing on is basically a distraction. It's a way of people trying to plug in a gap to try and generate revenue, but in my opinion, it won't really generate that much revenue at all. You'll get some, but not a lot, not enough to maybe save a business. I think a virtual tour or an online tour can certainly help when it's combined with an existing product that they actually go out on an adventure tour or a food tour or something like that, and then it's combined with some type of online experience. That can work. But for me, it's nothing more than a brand awareness exercise. And eventually these things will literally be free and be nothing more than a lead generator and for someone to take an actual experience, personally. Big companies may be able to make something of it, but for the general tour operator, I think there's other things that they could be focusing on rather than virtual tours personally, but that's just my 2 cents.
I think it's good marketing. There's people around here that are doing some, our local cinema's got a craft beer club, and they're sending out beers, or you can collect your beers, and then they'll all watch together on a Zoom meeting and talk about them. And it's good marketing and it's good brand awareness. But like you say, I don't think you can make the living that you might want to unless you're a massive company.
Yeah, excellent. We have a question from one of the guys who comes to a lot of our live events when we're able to do them. It's Frank from Downtown City Maps. Some people are starting to see tentative inquiries coming in. Have you seen any signs yet that people are showing interest in coming back to rural Scotland yet? Have you had much in terms of interest for that at the moment? I imagine Patrick will have something to say on this as well.
Yeah, I mean, I've had people that love. I've had a lot of feedback on there. There are people loving seeing where we are, and because they miss being there. We've definitely had a lot of people that just want to pile up here and get away from the city, but I don't think there are people that want to come on a tour just yet. But yeah, you're definitely getting the impression that people just want to go out into the wide open spaces. There's not, they're tiny communities in rural areas, and everybody else is really living in cities. And you get the feeling that that's happening, but everybody in Scotland seems to be being very cautious and very considerate about their timing. I think as a nation, it seems that people are, just waiting to make sure that those communities are ready and that things are open. We're very lucky around here. We have lots of self-catering and holiday cottages, so it might work out better for us here initially because we're not big hotels and stuff like that. But yeah, there's been a bit. I certainly none of the bookings that I made. I have one group of Germans that are still persisting in not quite cancelling for July, but yeah, I think we're seeing basically, we're definitely seeing that people want to be out in the countryside for sure.
Yeah. I certainly think it'll be it's going to be the only option to us really, but certainly an uptake in the domestic travel for sure. I know me and my family are already looking at places that we can go either north of Scotland or down in England or wherever. And people just, from my opinion, people might be a certain sector of people might be upset they can't go abroad, but ultimately they will still want to go somewhere because they've been cooped up for so long. So they will want to do something. And I think this is for those who are doing outdoor adventures like yourself, or if you're doing food tours or anything like that, anything that can bring people out and it just be with friends and family again. There's going to be a lot more of that going forward.
I've been trying to sort of show a bit of a change now. You guys have been talking a lot about evolving your ideas to try and cope with what people are going to be able to do or what they can afford to do or just the shape of your business. But I think it seems that if you can just encourage people to remember that they can come to the country and have a bit of relaxing time with their family, that's what we want. That'll encourage everyone to start thinking about it again.
Yeah, for sure. In fact, just to add to what Frank said, I think this is relating to your own videos. He's happy to share your content through his things that he does. So if you want to share them, feel free.
Thank you very much.
I think we had one more question, possibly. Yeah, here's one here. This is from Yerkin. I hope I pronounced that correctly. What is not working in digital marketing anymore, or something old that didn't work before coronavirus? Don't know if that's a question more for me or for you, but is there anything that you feel that you have maybe done in the past won't work anymore in terms of marketing wise, or you just think it's just because of what's happening just now that marketing will just kick in again as normal once restrictions are lifted properly?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say you're probably more qualified than me, really. I mean, I know it's a transition from old websites to CSS websites, and then, not just piling pages full of keyword nonsensical sentences, but that's old hat, old technology. There's the only thing that is not working in digital marketing is sitting on your hands and doing nothing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. In fact, one of the questions here, it's not really a question, but it is in a way, but it's going to lead me on to a little question before we finish. But Gabriella Maria is saying that she's seen an increase in inquiries and bookings for like cottages in the UK and that type of thing. And again, we're looking at things like that, Airbnb and all these other things. Is that the question I want to come out of this is, are you looking at maybe connecting with different partners and places where you can talk to these places that have cottages or Airbnbs where you can offer your tours within them to say, okay, if you're in this area, if you're staying at this B&B, if you're staying at this cottage, why not? Are you looking for actively looking for partners for anything like that? Or?
Yeah, for sure. And I was on that all the way up until, from kind of January through till March. That had been, as well as what I've been doing online, a big focus for me had been connecting with local providers of accommodation and experiences, because certainly like Gabrielle is saying, there's a lot of interest in self-catering and small cottages around here, and I have to be available for them. So although the big wide picture is the big flashy title of Unique Adventure Tours, the reality is that if you want a nice day out with your family and you don't need to be driving yourself and you want some nice new ideas for a day out, then yeah. But you have to, the thing that I've been trying to do as much of this this COVID holiday is reassuring other businesses that this is how it can work better for all of us. If we can be solid, if we can have some solidarity, we can boost each other's products massively.
Yeah, for sure. And that's what I'm saying again to a lot of people is whether it's others in the industry who you already partner up with or anyone else, even competitors, anyone everyone has been suffering from this. And if you can all get together, combine your efforts, make sure that anyone who does come to various destinations or various areas are going to get the best experience possible, because that will just bring more and more people and grow all the different businesses. Everyone needs help at the moment. So I think any way you can create those partnerships is going to be vital going forward, for sure. I really do.
Yeah.
Well, Chris, I appreciate your time.
Yes.
I have to say, being a film geek, I love the Akira poster in the background. One of my favourite manga films. But I appreciate the time. I really do. Hopefully, once we're all out of this, your business will thrive. I'm sure it will with your background as well. So if anyone wants to know more about you or your business, do you want to plug where they can find you, etc.?
Yeah, guys. You can certainly find me under my full name, Chris Wain, on LinkedIn, my website, which is Unique Adventure Tours Scotland, and on Facebook. You'll find me. I've, with the help of Chris's book, I designed a URL that describes exactly what my business is. So, I look forward to seeing you all in person at some point in the future.
I couldn't have said that better myself. Hopefully we all do. Hopefully we can all meet again. So that would be hopefully sooner rather than later. Yeah. As much as I love these online chats, the thing I love about the Travel Massive groups that we have is we all just get together, we have a drink, we have a chat, we do these chats, and it's a great networking opportunity, and it helps. I've seen so many people create business out of those events that we run for free. Cafe, for example. Yeah, it's a confidence booster and everything else. People who are not necessarily good at networking or talking to people. It helps with that as well. But no, I know of Kathy, who comes to a lot of our events. She was one of our speakers in the past. because she was there with the Clydeside Distillery, she managed to help out them with some work. So there's connections happening, there's business happening, and that's why we love doing this. We love doing the Travel Massive thing in Glasgow, and we want to see this thrive even further. So we will be back again for live in-person events once we're allowed and able to. So hopefully we can invite you back at some point, and then we can do this live.
Yeah, nice one. And thanks for all that you do for all of us anyway, Chris. So nice one. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you. So thanks again to Chris there. Absolute pleasure having him on. And I just thought it was a great way to have someone who's literally just started out in his business to get some insights from them. Because I know many of you out there were probably in the same boat, or even thinking even now about starting up your own business. And as Chris has proven, it can be done. And to give you a little bit of more advice is, I started my own business. I started a tourism marketing agency in 2008. The financial crash hit. My wife got pregnant. We were trying, but it wasn't a mistake. My wife got pregnant, and a whole host of other things happened that year as well. So if you can get through a crisis like this, or set up a business during this, and you're going to get through it, you will be a much stronger business. In 14 years, we're still here. So there's never a bad time to start up a business, in my opinion. So now I'm going to invite our next and last speaker, and this is Patrick from Visit Scotland. Let me just add you to the screen. Hi, Patrick. Thank you so much for waiting patiently in the background.
I wouldn't say waiting patiently. I've just been running up and down the stairs, switching computers as I lost connection to you. So you've been very cool, keeping going.
No, I did actually see you dropping off, and I was going, right, there's another question I can ask just to get more time, and then you've came back on. So just to spoil the magic and the illusion for everyone out there. So. Yeah. But no, I appreciate you again, like Chris, giving up some of your time to talk today. We were hoping to do this live in front of people, so thank you so much again for doing this online. I really do appreciate it. So for those of us who don't know anything about you or Visit Scotland, why don't you just give everyone just a brief overview about what you do at Visit Scotland and how you help businesses?
Okay. I work in the engagement department with Visit Scotland. I'm the industry development manager. My job is supporting businesses with advice for business growth. And that's pretty much digital advice these days.
Mm-hmm. Which is going to be vitally important going forward, for sure.
Yeah. Hopefully. And listening to Chris, it was like he'd got it all in one go, hadn't he? He's really got it nailed.
Yeah, it's like I just said there. If anyone can start a business, maybe just at Christmas time or before, and get through COVID and come out the other end, nothing will phase them going forward from this point forward. But what we're going to do first, especially for those who are listening on a podcast later on, we're actually going to, just before we go into the questions, we're going to show a quick sort of 3-minute video that Patrick has given, that even those who are listening on the podcast, it all still makes sense because it's obviously got a voiceover over it. But we're going to show a quick video and then we'll jump into the questions. So bear with us for the next couple of minutes.
Yeah.
When someone begins to plan a holiday to Scotland, they could look for information and inspiration in a number of different places. It's important that your business has a presence on a wide variety of channels. That increases your chances of them seeing what you have to offer and booking your service as part of their trip. A customer could use a search engine. They could look up Tours of Dundee, or they could look up your business, Tay Tours. If you want them to find you, then you need to make your website search engine friendly. Use keywords in your content to make sure customers can find you for what you do. Browse social media. They might see a friend's post of their experience at your business. They might look up your business for customer reviews or see an advert on Facebook. If you want them to find you, you need a Facebook business page, Instagram account and Twitter account where you share content about your business and other tourism relevant posts, respond to reviews and generally engage with customers. Follow an influencer. They might follow an influencer who's been on a recent trip to Scotland and created social, video and blog content. If you want them to find you, regional and national organisations often use travel bloggers and influencers to show off their destination. They may get in touch with your business to be a part of the trip. or you might be contacted by an influencer directly. So, consider any offers which may see you provide free services in return for social promotion on their channels. Use online travel agents. They could compare businesses for reviews, cost and location, or read an article on top things to do in Scotland on the OTA website. If you want them to find you, then you need to be listed on OTA websites. Either individually or through a channel manager, your business needs a presence, and you should use it to respond to reviews and update prices and availability. There can also be paid opportunities to feature in article content. Browse visitscotland.com. They might read an article about days out in Dundee and click through to your business listing, or search our listings for tours of Dundee. If you want them to find you, then you need to create a Visit Scotland web listing which is up to date and captures the key features of your services. Decide to book a trip through a tour operator. They might book a pre-organised group trip through their website, or use their experience to book a customisable trip just for themselves. If you want them to find you, then you'll need to be set up to accept travel trade bookings. You can get a listing on Visit Scotland's travel trade website, or speak to your local Visit Scotland Industry Relations Manager for advice. Receive an e-newsletter. They might browse a travel-related email newsletter, click on one of the articles and read more, which gets them thinking, planning and booking a holiday to Scotland. If you want them to find you, set up your website to accept newsletter subscriptions and start emailing your database regularly with updates on your business and ideas for what else to do while they visit you. Browse a regional or sectoral website. They might look up more information on the Outer Hebrides or mountain biking and visit a specific themed website. If you want them to find you, make sure you engage with your regional and sectoral organisations and take up any opportunities they have, such as a web listing, industry newsletter with events and funding opportunities, and access to training and advice. Look up things to do near me on their mobile. A visitor might find they have spare time once on holiday and look for activities, attractions, or food and drink places near me. If you want them to find you, make sure your website is mobile friendly so they can easily find you and read your content while on the go. You should also claim your Google listing through Google My Business, so the opening hours and contact detail information is up to date when displayed through the search engine. It's worth remembering that one user may look in multiple places, so they'll see your business on a search engine, visit your website, sign up for your emails and look at your Facebook page. Think about how your message can work on all of the different channels, so the users see a consistent message and really get to know and understand your business. To learn more, visit digitaltourismscotland.com.
Thanks for sitting through the video. Hopefully that highlighted a few things that Patrick wants to discuss and give you a bit good insight into the user journeys that people need to take and what Patrick advises. So hopefully that was okay for everyone. So Patrick, in the video we've seen just how and I heard how important the customer journey is as part of a business's website and everything else, and to get the customers along that journey to basically make a booking or inquire or whatever that would be. But many tourism focused businesses in Scotland still don't have any online or adequate online bookings facilities in mind. So in mind, how important is this for any tourism businesses? Is a booking sort of a vital important these days, or do you still see that that's not quite a necessary step at this stage? What's your thoughts in terms of offering online booking capabilities?
I suppose taking it directly in context right now, that things aren't happening. But I think what we've got to treat this, I'd like to treat your question just slightly out of context, in that
sure.
Before this, when we did this video, and I'll talk a little bit further as to why we did that video. But before this, we were seeing data, and I think it was for years that our visitors were switching to online booking, and that sort of variety of stats was coming through that travel bookings up to from 60 to 80% of travel bookings have been done online. So vitally important, therefore, that Scotland had to be visible in respects of if someone was going to be searching. If 68% of visitors out there in the world wanted to find and then book online their experiences or accommodation. And it was vital that Scottish businesses were online bookable. Mm-hmm. Fast forward what we've just gone through, and clearly we've got some habits already changing dramatically. And I think one of the things that we're seeing coming through, and all of us will know that even there are segments of people who didn't traditionally buy anything online. And literally over the last 2 and 3 months, they've suddenly found they've had to, they've learned how to do it. Mm-hmm. So without doubt, there's a chunk of those people will have changed habits as well. So that percentage is going to go up and up and up. Other bits that makes it even more important, particularly in this, as we go into the phases of where we start coming out of this, is that online bookability can give you tools where you can safely manage coming back into business. And what do I mean by that? It's stuff like being able to control the volume of people that can come into your business at any given time. So you can start segmenting by time, selling tickets, selling entry, using online bookability. Now, that's going to be so important in terms of giving people the safety and security that they are in a place that they can socially distance because you're managing it. And other simple things like online bookable doesn't work unless it's contactless. And again, that's another habit that's very much changed in people's mind, is they want to have as little as possible. So if you can pay online, that's great. And actually, there's a big upside for that as to business right now. That helps cash flow. So there's lots of reasons as to why that's changed and is even more important. And I think the frightening stat is that we did a bit of a search about a year and a half ago in terms of experienced businesses that were online bookable on our website. And we reckoned just 20% of businesses were online bookable. And when we dug below that, because there was various bits of surveys that said an awful lot more were online bookable. But when we asked the question was, businesses were considering that if I answer an email that asks, can I book you, they were online bookable. That's not what our visitor wants. They want to be able to click book now, pay, get a confirmation that tells them what time they've booked for, what are the directions that when they arrive they will do, and how do they get around the place, all this sort of nice engagement stuff. That's online bookable as our visitors will want going forward.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's such a massive step, especially in this day and age. You mentioned there more and more people are booking online or doing things online now just simply because of what's happened. I was actually before we went through all these chats, I was in another webinar earlier on today, and I sort of made the joke, but it is true that my own mother, who's going to be 70 soon, is 7 weeks ago, or over the last 7 weeks, has been FaceTiming everyone or video chatting over WhatsApp, and that would have been laughable 7 weeks ago. So it's like more and more of that generation above are creating Facebook accounts. They're just to stay in touch with family and friends. So more and more people are going to be connected online, as you say, and more people are buying online because they simply have to. Online shopping, everything else. So people are going to get more used to it, and if they get more used to it, people are going to end up expecting that from a lot of the people listening, or the tour operators, or the accommodation providers that are listening to this just now. So for sure. Absolutely. So how the video that sort of we've seen. How important is it to have your business on as many platforms as possible, including Visit Scotland? Now, you mentioned in the video there that spreading not having all your eggs in one basket and spreading that around is an important part of the step. And I can come on to a couple of horror stories after your chat. But how is it important as to spread your sort of your work around?
It's pretty much vital, and I suppose I hope that video doesn't come across patronizing. We try to make it easy to consume, to work your way through it, and as sort of, in a sense, playful as it is, there's some real nuggets of genuine stuff in there that's worth sort of taking in. And it's based on a piece of research that we went out, and we would normally do sort of vast amounts of research with a lot of people, quantitative and qualitative. But in 2017, 2018, we decided to make a change and we did a piece of research which was diary based. So we effectively tracked a robust number of people and literally asked them to record every single interaction, thought, process that they did in planning a holiday. And we pulled all of that together. And the results of that was fascinating in terms of what it showed is that, firstly, and this is that in terms of planning is something that's always in a person's process. It's not about, I need to book linear, where will I go, boom, 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 boom. That tends to be at the end of a planning process. And actually, on an ongoing basis, people are constantly thinking about holidays or being inspired or being given new ideas or looking at ideas and saying that works or that doesn't work, adding it to something else. So it's actually about hundreds, if not thousands, of interactions online all the time that people utilize. So that's one big piece, and it's about then, and what that then meant was that in order for us, the businesses, to influence those sort of times and situations, you needed to be in as many of the channels as is possible, and doing it as well as possible, doing it and answering the questions for those people at the right time, at the right place, with the right content. So it is a big ask, but so therefore it does need that you are actually displaying your businesses in as many of those platforms as possible. I'm actually listening to Chris before this. He actually gets it. He was talking about 300 hours on his website to make sure it was right. He was talking about how building content was what he spent his time on, and how he was on social, engaging. I mean, that is exactly what that video was about. So it was quite encouraging to hear how he's approaching it.
Yeah, as I said in the chat with Chris, it's becoming that media company. It's getting you have to have all those different touch points that you have to get out these days, and this is what you need to do to survive in today's market. Unfortunately, there's no quick fix anymore, as they say.
Absolutely, and it's what we sort of use the term of being discoverable, and it's in order to be unearthed, you really need to be, yes, you need to be bookable, but that's at the end of the spectrum of when people say, okay, I'm ready to spend my pounds, but it's much more before that that you need to have that presence in terms of your website, in terms of your social, that you are managing your reputation, which actually after this phase is going to be even more important, because imagine if you're not getting well rated for cleanliness on any of your reputation. How important is that? Maybe before it was less so. Now it's going to be really, really important in the next sort of months or so. So all of these things you need to pay attention. I think the question then people ask is, well, how am I able to spread myself over all of these things? So yes, the argument is still you need to do things well, but I suppose the starting point is understanding who your target audience is. Once you know that, you can start saying, well, they are on Facebook or they are on Instagram, so I'll pay some attention and I will do it really well, and I will do it regularly, and I will do it in the times that people are consuming. And likewise with your content on your website, that you're doing it targeted to the audience that you know is right for your product.
No, exactly true, and go a step further than that. What tends to happen is people who do a lot of stuff on social media and things like that will fall into the trap of using a scheduler and post the same content across multiple different platforms. Whereas for some of the cases, those platforms need specific content for the demographics. That someone who's watching something or looking at something on Instagram isn't necessarily going to be inspired by the same thing on Facebook, and vice versa. It's making sure you adapt your content for each one of those channels. And again, it's a lot of work, but that's ultimately what gets you better recognition and builds your brand up quicker and better, in my opinion. With the advent of COVID, I can't get away from this question, unfortunately. With the advent of COVID, what is the advice that you would give tourism businesses just now? What website or marketing elements should they be focusing on if they had to pick a few at the moment? What should they be doing at the moment?
I'll take it back just one step from that in terms of the advice piece. One of the things we did as soon as COVID came out was that we used every relationship we possibly could have to surface data around what the situation was around the world, within Scotland, within everything. within every source, whether that's our own website, whether that was using a sentiment monitor that we utilize, whether that's, we also use Adara, if you're familiar with it. We also reached out to all the big travel platforms, asking them would they be happy to share their data with us in terms of what people were searching for Scotland from internationally or in the UK. We talk to as many people as possible. We have people in market across the world who are gathering information about what was happening on the ground. What information could we possibly have that would be useful? And one of the strong and really encouraging pieces that came across was that people were really disappointed that they couldn't come to Scotland. People were still committed to come to Scotland. So that's what I would say to you as a starting point to that question is there is real hope. People see Scotland as a really strong holiday proposition going forward as soon as these restrictions start to lift and when it's safe to come to here. That Scotland, with its open spaces, its fresh air, and the connotations with wellness, is really, really well positioned to be ready to take advantage of the opportunity. So that's a really, really strong thing. So, and then in terms of where and how you spend your time, just going back to that discoverable element. So it's, without doubt, the most cost-effective thing is direct to you. So that video touches on that in terms of whether it's on your website, whether it's your social media, whether it is through your email and your database, and it's going back and checking the fundamentals are right in that perspective. It's interesting. Whenever we do a lot of outreach to businesses, and we say to them, look, just come along to in the good old days, come along to our workshops. Listen, we'll go over the basics. You may consider yourself to be immature in terms of digital, in terms of your knowledge, but I will bet that we will kick out maybe one or two little nuggets that you can go back and fix when you get back to your business. And it is amazing that is the truth. And these are sort of big businesses to one-man bands that we do this. And we're going to do some of that online in the next few weeks. So watch out for that. And it's so to me, it's about just take that time right now. And I know it's really, really tough, but take the time now to have a look at all the things, even simple things like making sure that your Google My Business Knowledge Graph is verified. Terrifyingly, I was talking to Google about 8 months ago, and they said that 50% of tourism businesses in Scotland have not verified their Google Knowledge Graph. Now, that in itself is a very simple thing to do. It's one of those things that when we've asked businesses, say, well, I might get spammed because of it, or I'm a little bit scared of doing something with Google, that they'll start spamming. So there is no real logic other than it's a simple thing to get fixed. And even now, there is one thing you should be doing is sort of adding if you are temporarily closed, add that. You've got opportunities to add messages in there if you're doing any events, anything that keeps, even if it is virtual reality. I know your thoughts on that in that respect, but if you're doing that as an awareness piece, then that's a little bit. So the direct stuff, checking everything, and then it's about the referral stuff. So there's reference about our listings. Those are free. Then make sure you use it, and make sure not only do you use it, but get your images updated, get your text, look at it, freshen it up, have a new perspective on it. Same with any of your other referral sites. So have a little quick look at analytics. If you don't use it a lot, one of the nice, just go into referrals and give you a list of your top 10 sites that referred to you before this episode, this COVID. And just go and look at them and get everything in there as sharp and as right as possible. And then, and this is maybe something that's, it can be quite tricky, but online travel agents will have a role. It's not right for everybody, but it is something you should consider. If you know your cost of sales and you know that normally you've got a bit of inventory left at any given day, month, or week, then you should be considering online travel agent as another way, as a balanced way. I still come back to direct is still best. But online travel agents, once they don't cannibalize your business as it was or is going to be in the future, then do have a look at it, but manage it, negotiate it, make sure that the terms and conditions are right for what you want and you're reaching out to a new audience. So those would be the sort of three things I would look at right now.
Yeah,
along
amazing,
with that
amazing. Yeah.
extra hope. Sorry.
Yeah, it's great advice, and on the OTA thing, I completely agree. I see OTAs as nothing more than another marketing channel. It's another way of trying to get your product out there, but unfortunately, a lot of operators just fall into the trap of relying on that too heavily. And I know we spoke before we had this chat about some businesses I've spoken to who are 100% reliant, and believe me, there are plenty of them out there 100% reliant on OTAs, which through this time that's going to hit them hard at the moment. So it's spreading, as you say, as the video shows, spreading your eggs around as many places as possible, and using OTAs to a certain extent, but don't let it affect your direct channels or overtake your direct channels as much as possible. So do you see, obviously with things happening with post-COVID, with internationals, flights and 14-day quarantines and all these other things that are happening at the moment. I'm advising a lot of people and a lot of our customers that for at least the next 6 to 12 months, domestic is where it's going to be at. Is that what you guys are seeing as well? Do you think domestic is the focus that a lot of businesses should be taking going forward at the moment?
Yeah, and without doubt, international business is not going to come back as quickly as we would like. It probably is unlikely to come back for this season, although. Once again, our team who are out in destination, and what they're getting is the intermediaries and the wholesalers coming to them and saying, we still see Scotland as a very, very viable product. We want to start building product for 2021. So back to that demand, it's there, and it will come back when it is safe, when it's right to travel. But in the meantime, you're absolutely right. There will be a phase of return, and as we see it, and again, we're going to be doing some education webinars. Watch out for them on visitscotland.org, where we will look at sort of 4 phases from a domestic perspective. The first one is quite encouraging from an experience perspective. It's about day trips. It's when the Scots are able to go out and start enjoying their country again. So that we see that happening first. We don't have an exact date or time, but we're planning for that. Then there's we will have the Scots staycation kicking in. So again, where they'll be able to stay away at nights and want to do stuff, and without doubt, they'll perhaps not want to stay without knowing can they do something in that area. So these are areas and opportunities that people should tap into. There's the UK market, and that's, if you think about it, Scotland's market share was 80%, over 80% UK. So we're already really, really strong. We know there's a lot of people who love Scotland, and they're 80% in volume and value. So critically important. And then there's the one that perhaps we might not think of, but the Republic of Ireland. Ireland is going to be probably a much quicker to return, won't have the international restrictions as we see it that other countries will have. So there are 4 markets that we should be thinking about and repurposing our product, because interestingly, if you're so used to focusing towards an international market, quite often your product isn't quite ready for a domestic market. That family units might be, I was given an example recently, and it's not for this, where accommodation, if a family of 5 went to stay in a hotel for 5 days in Scotland, they could just as easily stay in the Maldives. So it's, those the room setup, or the way food is part of the package. It's all of these things that we need to reconsider exactly how our product is set up so that it is right for the UK market. And we must remember as well that in terms of spend, part of the southeast is probably the most wealthy market it is out there. So luxury is still there as an opportunity as well.
Completely agree. Some great advice, Patrick. I can see a couple of questions coming in. One is actually on the Travel Massive website, which I can't put up on the screen, but It's from, there's actually a couple. It's from Sean Rice. Does Scotland, I don't know if this is something you can answer, but does Scotland plan to launch a COVID-19 hygiene stroke safety certification to reassure travellers like Portugal has the clean and safe stamp or similar in Spain? Do you think that's something we're going to have implemented here?
Yes, I think there are a lot of conversations. It's been dealt with at Scottish government level. We've got a Scottish Tourism Emergency. I don't know what the R stands for. Group. It's what we call it. But there's a subgroup within that which is looking at that sort of cleanliness. How do we make sure that our visitor has a confidence in it? So there has been a publication. The main one is UK Hospitality. There is people sort of clamoring for a kite mark. What we've got to understand, though, is it's got to be safe, but also the consumer's got to understand what the kite mark stands for, and that takes a lot to get that education across. I suppose fundamentally, what's important is that we're able to reassure, and this is back to that piece of it, that your business is properly set up, that you're giving messages out to say you've taken COVID seriously, that you're putting things in place that keeps people safe. And the messaging is probably the significant, most important part of all of this. But yes, it is something that's been considered and will be sort of very shortly published so that that industry can get behind it.
Excellent. I actually see another one on Travel Massive. Not really a question, but I don't know if it's a relation. Kevin O'Shaughnessy from Dublin says, he runs Travel Massive Dublin. He says, we need to connect together at some point, Patrick. So there you go. Absolutely. You've got a brother from another mother over in Ireland somewhere. Okay. So. Yeah, so I've got one more question I see. It's from Yerkin. Let's see if this is something we can answer. Can you evaluate, it's quite a big question, can you evaluate Tourism Scotland 2020 strategy accomplishments and how 2030 strategy might change after COVID in general and in digital marketing points of view? I don't know if I've got time to answer questions in depth as well.
It is a big one. I think Chris touched on it, is that the visitor's interested in stories and storytelling, and it's something that Scotland is extremely strong at doing. So it's about the person, the people side of things, how authentic you can be. So it is about sort of putting across the stories, the really, really strong stories that exist in Scotland. That's been weaved through all of our marketing strategies going forward, and will continue to be so. So that's probably a very simplistic answer, but I think
that's another topic entirely, I think, for that one. I actually have a couple more on the Travel Massive website. One from Ian, who's the owner of Travel Massive, is how much COVID-19 messaging is too much for tour operators? Any best practices and examples? Do you think we talk about it too much, or?
I think, well, we right now we're in lockdown, so it's really it's front of mind. I think it's
maybe it's thinking about his content going forward. So that should it be something you create a lot in terms of your marketing, or should you try and make your marketing more evergreen, as it were, or should you only mention COVID to a certain extent and then sort of forget about it after that point?
I think it's back to that reassurance. It's about making sure that what you're and it's about the phases. So without doubt, Scotland is seen as a safe, secure, wide open place to come to. So there is that perception. So it's been also been able to put across that you as a singular business is taking it seriously, and whether that, and putting things in place that looks after people. So I think once beyond that, then I suppose you need to deliver that as well. It's just like anything, you overpromise and underdeliver, then you're in real trouble. And reputation will quickly catch you up in that respect. So in answer to that question, I suppose you're looking to reassure, and then it's about the experience. And it's to me, as you quite rightly said, it's evergreen content ultimately is the core of what delivers for you.
Yeah. I've got one last question before we let you go. Is from Peter Travels. It's quite a big question. It's on Travel Massive. But in summary, do you think the recently high-profile loss of Scottish coach operators and some of the other associated hotels will put people off booking in the future? And do you think there's a risk that with tour operators going under, etc., we might not even have enough people to accommodate the capacities? Do you see that being an issue as well going forward?
There's no doubt it'll be challenging, and that's been the awful pieces of the last couple of months, is listening to when you're looking to help businesses and trying to sort them and feeling powerless that you can't do anything for them. Our chief executive regularly says there's one thing about tourism: the businesses are very resilient, and you can see that already. I think, unfortunately, some good businesses even are going to not be able to open up again. But we're very hopeful in terms of the demand we see. We're very hopeful in terms of that resilience of businesses being there and listening and talking to people, because we've made thousands and received thousands of calls. I have a real confidence that we can bounce back quite quickly.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. I think we will. I actually noticed one there quickly, just from Frank. He says the focus at the moment obviously seems to be things about open spaces and rural visits. Is there going to be any campaigns in terms of trying to create higher volumes for city breaks and things like that as well within Scotland?
I think even when we talk about open spaces and green, actually, again, Scotland is very blessed that many of our cities have lots of green spaces. Think of Glasgow in terms of how they used to be known. So we're going to be looking at that, and we'll utilise that as a big part. And then the other part is one of the big advantages of Scotland's cities is how quickly and easy you can get into the countryside. You're not stuck for hours in traffic jams. You can very, very quickly get out and see some amazing countryside.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I love about living in Scotland, especially Glasgow. It's where I live, sort of further away from the West End of Glasgow is 10-minute drive, 15-minute drive from where I live. I'm literally at Loch Lomond or further. It's incredible. You can just quickly drive out that way and just take the kids and run about with the dog and everything else. It's amazing. It's an amazing place to stay. It really is. Yeah. Well, Patrick, I can't thank you enough for your time. I hope everyone has some great insights from this, and I can't thank you enough. So I hope if anyone wants to know more about yourself, Visit Scotland, or if there's anything they want to know further, where would they find that out from you?
I think the best place is we've got visitscotland.org is our industry facing site. All our contact details are in there. There's lots of really good stuff. We've just added a ton of new content from a digital skills perspective for you to have a look at. And as I said a few times, we've got a series of webinars now, probably every Thursday until July 16th, with 1 or 2 gaps. That's there to help and support tourism businesses get back.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. And anyone who's listening, watching, take anything you can do to learn up your skill sets, learn how you can create more bookings going forward, past COVID. You guys are producing this sort of content, so it's a must watch, and I'd urge everyone to sign up for them. I really would. So, but Patrick, thanks again.
Not at all. Pleasure.
Hopefully we could do this live at some point.
Indeed, yes, it would be nice. Get out of this attic.
Yeah. I feel like I've been stuck in my bedroom for the last 8 weeks, and I'm sick of the sight of it, to be honest. But no, whatever happens, though, stay safe, and hopefully we'll catch up soon.
Likewise. Take care, and thanks for the opportunity to talk to you.
Not at all. But if you stay there, I'm going to bring back Chris just to sort of do as a little thank you for everyone. Let's see if he's still there. There he is. Thanks, Chris. Thanks for waiting and listening. Did you have any thoughts for Patrick while you were listening to that, watching it?
No, it was really good, pretty interesting. I've got lots of notes, so no questions, just loads of notes. So plenty still.
Yeah, Patrick, with this StreamYard thing that we use, there's little videos at the bottom, and people are highlighted when they're on screen and not when they're off screen. I can see Chris busily sort of writing away in the corner of my eye when you were talking. So, so that's always a good sign. Yeah. But I just wanted to bring you both back just to sort of say thank you. The Travel Massive, this group that I run. We all do it for free in terms of giving up our time and running this to create this community. And I think when we took over 2 or 3 years ago, in fact, it was 3 years ago now, great God, it was sorely lacking in Glasgow, I felt. And it's such a great community. And we can't wait to get back to doing live shows again in front of an actual audience and networking, and do what this was ultimately meant to do, is bridge those connections and more opportunities and everything else. So thanks again for being part of it, and hopefully we can all do it again soon.
Thank you very much, Chris.
Excellent. Look forward to that. Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys.
Ciao, ciao.
So thanks again, everyone, to Travel Massive Glasgow Live. I hope you enjoyed that. Hopefully you got some really good insights and some advice from that. We will be back again at the end of next month, at the end of June. We're hoping to have the two same speakers that we're going to have live. It will be another online event at this present time, but hopefully we'll confirm that hopefully over the next coming days. But if you've got any questions, if you want to be part of Travel Massive, feel free to email me at chris@tourismmarketing.agency. If you've got something interesting to say, if you've got something interesting you want to give advice over for, everything about this show, about my podcast, about Travel Massive, it's all about giving free advice, giving good advice, and helping others within the industry. And that is more important than ever now with what's happening in the world. So if you want to be part of the show, let me know, and we'll hopefully make that happen. But to everyone who's been watching and listening, can't thank you enough, and hopefully we'll see you again in a few weeks' time. Thanks all.